So it's an interesting bit of history there. Always remember that the French Revolution was a dark period for France. It wasn't a period of enlightenment. Look at this. Imagine this was destroyed during the war. I'm in the town called Écouché-les-Vallées. So I was wrong. The damage that you just saw outside is not from the Second World War. It's actually from the French Revolution. And of course, if you know anything about the French Revolution, it was a very atheistic event where, when the newly formed National Assembly confiscated the lands of the church, which amounted to about 1/3, I reckon, if I remember correctly, to 1/4 of the entire country of France. Things happened in that process which were awful, and there was great persecution of French Catholics, and specifically the clergy and the monasteries and the nuns and all sorts. So the damage out there, it's raining, I don't want to be standing in the rain and telling you this, is from the French Revolution. Only, well, hasn't been restored, has it? And so I just assumed, oh, it's the Second World War. Nope, French Revolution, that's what you got. You know what's amazing about these churches? Look how clean and pristine the stone is. That stone was put there hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And it continues to bear a sort of clean disposition. And there's Jeanne d'Arc over there, Jeanne d'Arc. So it's an interesting bit of history there. Always remember that the French Revolution was a dark period for France. It wasn't a period of enlightenment, as the protagonists involved in the revolution would have liked to have it been thought of. No, it was a very dark period in French history which caused a lot of misery across the world. I mean, literally across the world, because the resulting wars over the next 25 years, until the defeat of Napoleon in 1814, I believe, led to millions of deaths across the world, you know, in colonies and whatnot, and war So revolutions are a very dangerous thing, especially when they're on a country-wide scale and not within the halls of power. You know, in France, they would drown priests in the rivers and shoot nuns. So, is France better for it now, 200 years later? Well, I asked this question. Did it have to be that way? Did it have to be that way? Take the revolutions that happened in England. You had the Glorious Revolution, and you had the Cromwellian Revolution, the Civil War. Civil War was bloody, but it was not long spent, and it was quite localized. The Glorious Revolution was a triumph for the emancipation of the people, for ensuring liberty, that the right of the king is in some way checked by Parliament. And, you know, that came about a constitutional monarchy, of a democracy, eventually in its full emancipated form. France could have had that. In fact, when the revolution was going on, there were people speaking like Lafayette and Mirabeau who wanted a constitutional monarchy, keep the king, have a greater representation in the assembly. Unfortunately, the radicals got into power and they guillotined their enemies, and they instituted this great revolution and also the reign of terror. And that's what you get when you mess with revolutions. So, yes, that's what you get, and this is what you get. Destruction. Absolute destruction. God has given me a bus stop to reprieve in. My poor hat, soaking wet. 6 kilometers to Argenton, and then a lodging. So, reprieve from rain. But these are going well. Sorry if I don't get any good shots of them, because the rain sort of prevents me from bringing the camera out so often. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and consider giving some money to my fundraising in aid to tackling homelessness with the charity St. Mungo's, and there are other social media platforms down below like Instagram, Substack, and I have a Patreon as well. So come back next time for another little yomp in France.